And that's it. We are now live on the internet.
You know, it's interesting. I didn't see a countdown.
Look at that. There was one. I
Not
always
even
thought
a.
I thought both of us saw it, so that's funny. I've been assuming that you saw it too. Yeah, it's like five, four, three, two, one, and here we are.
All right.
So hey, this is Paul Demello, and Paul Demello is the founder of Just Against Children Drowning. He's a water safety advocate. He also installs mesh pool safety fencing, and the Just Against Children Drowning nonprofit was started after his two children, Josh and Kristen Demello, passed away. Hopefully, I'll get him to tell that story. And he's been doing it for 5 years, 6 years now.
I want to say it's closer to five. 5 years.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
5 years now, and he's done bike events and runs and installed a ton of pool fences and a phenomenal amount of educational outreach and Facebook education and just a multifaceted, multi-pronged approach to pool safety, which I really think is perfect, actually. Where he's not just doing education, he's just not doing practical stuff, he's doing it all at the same time.
Yeah, I'm all over the place. Half the time I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just out there doing it.
I mean, that's what you do, right? You just gotta start doing it.
What else was there to do? After going through what I went through, and
so can you do you mind telling that story?
I've told it so many times. I can never tell it all in full extent, and I miss my boys, Eric. I just miss them. And the day that I got that telephone call was the worst phone call of my life. And still today, I look back on. I mean, matter of fact, the other day I was in the gym with a very good friend of mine, and I was telling him, "Wow, I can't believe it's been 8 years." And I woke up and I wanted to cry, and I was fighting back those tears, and I'm asking myself, why am I fighting back these tears so much? Because I feel like I shouldn't be like in this position where I'm grieving them so much, But they told me, no, you'll miss them to the day you die, But yeah, pretty much the kids were with their mom, and their mom loved them to death, and the kids loved her too, And that's where it happened. So I wasn't there, so I probably never really will know exactly what happened. I can tell you there was definitely a lapse of time. We're taught that the first place we should look is the swimming pool. I know that today, and it was the last place that was checked. The twins got through to the pool area, and they both fell in. And a lot of times people ask me, wow, that's crazy. Both of them are gone. They both drowned. And yeah, I get it with twins. I remember watching my boys very closely, and they were always by each other's side. But anyways, we were separated at the time, and I had custody of my kids, and they were visiting with their mom at the grandparents' house, and that's when I got the phone call, and I remember hearing the screams, real loud screams, and I totally buckled. Like I ain't, I ain't never been hit so hard like that in my life, and I remember falling down to the ground, and my oldest son come running out of his bedroom and scooping me up and basically bringing me to the car, and it was almost like I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to respond. I never imagined something like that would happen to my little guys. They were only 13 months old. I was always concerned about my 18-year-old, but not the little guys. They were just so perfect and pure, and one of the toughest things I've had to do was survive this, survive my emotions. And I think, like you had, when you introduced me and you talked about kind of being all over the place and and I don't know, I just had to get busy. And when you said it's been what, 5 or 6 years, that first year, a year and a half, it was like somebody cut my legs off, I just couldn't get out of bed. I was crying every single day. Matter of fact, I cried for like 13 months straight. Went to bed crying, woke up crying. But there was one thing that I held on to, and I got a phone call. I want to say 4 or 5 days after my little guy Christian passed away. He was able to donate his organs, and I remember hearing that that his organ got donated, his kidneys got donated to a little girl, 19-year-old girl. And it was like I was crying and smiling at the same time. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that,
Yeah,
crying
yeah.
and smiling at the same time.
Mhm.
So I knew there was something about helping others. And so that's when I knew I had to do something, anything, Um, and today I have a relationship with that family. And today I feel like my boys also gave me a mission. I'm like a dad on a mission kind of thing. And every day I pick this up. Every single day, some way, shape, or form. I got pictures all over my house about my twins. I got tattoos of my twins. I don't know. I adore them. I miss them. And a lot of times I feel like people are sick of hearing about them or seeing them. And that's that stinking thinking, I guess, that grief. But the fact of the matter is, only if you could have saw how I was when they were here. It was like hitting the lottery. I really enjoy being a dad. And there's just something about those little people that that unconditional love that they give you. And I think what I'm really trying to do is keep their spirit alive here on Earth through selfless labor. It's almost like a form of therapy for me, and
You,
it and and
you
it
know, I
has
never.
helped. It has helped a great deal. I mean, I'm in a much, much, much better place than I was. I'm still in the middle of it at times. Um, and as you can see, I can go on and on and on about this stuff. There's something to be said about sharing the story. It's an opportunity and it's a privilege. Probably one of the greatest opportunities I have is to share that story. About my boys and what happened, and of course, always thinking about the solution and trying to take that tragedy and turning it into a gift for others. So they don't have to go through the same thing. It's almost predictable, and it's definitely preventable. The drownings continue to happen.
You,
Go
you know,
ahead, Eric.
I had never thought of it this way before, but the kidneys, the organs, they were kind of the first donation of JACD. They were kind of the beginning of the
Yeah,
gimmick.
yeah, that's awesome, and I like the way you put that because it really was because that's when I kind of made the connection. There was just something there about that. Um, and again, I feel like I'm trying to keep their spirit alive here, their memory through whatever I do, whatever that is. And I know it's not perfect. I make a lot of mistakes, and the other thing I want to tell you is there's just so many other people that like nurture me and love me, back to life and always supporting the foundation. I mean, there's always some people that want to dim the light and take away from it, and a lot of times I just realize that, we're all dealing with something, you know, we're all dealing with something.
And you know her, right? The young lady that receives the kidneys, and
I
she
do. I do.
and did she have a baby?
She did. And,
Yeah.
and I was like the one person she wanted there when the baby was born.
Oh,
That was so cool. Like,
that is cool.
you know, I mean, and she's grown. She's grown so much. She's a dynamite mom. That was the one thing that she wanted. She used to pray on a regular basis was to be a mom. You know, and I remember her telling me, Paul, you just don't understand. I didn't have a life. I was on dialysis for 5 years. I couldn't drive. Her education was going to be like she was going to drop out of school. She just didn't care to live. And then after the transplant, she shared with me on how much her life had changed. Going back to school, graduating, going to work, and just a total 180-degree turnaround, which is a miracle to me. Definition of a miracle.
That is, I mean, that's really cool. And you wonder how much of Christian is in that.
She says Josh and Kristen always.
Yeah, she doing both.
Yeah, huh?
That makes sense.
She includes them both. We didn't get a
Yeah.
chance. We didn't get a chance to do anything with Josh's
Right.
because I believe you got 24 hours to make that decision, and
Mhm.
Josh passed right away. They both went to separate hospitals, which was crazy to me. But now I get it because they wanted to give each child that attention.
Oh, okay.
They went to different hospitals, and we ended up at one hospital where Joshua was, and he passed right away. And then I had heard that Christian got revived, and we went over to the other hospital, and he lived for 3 days.
S-
And
s-
then we were able to make that decision. It's something that you don't think of.
no,
What are you going to do? If one of your children die with their organs, kind of thing. So it was a process.
right, right, of course. Um, and so since then, talk a little bit, if you can, about what JACD has done and kind of the things that you're proud of, so far.
Um, well, yeah, I want to back up to first of all, I've always been about children. I've
Hmm.
always loved children. I mean, I had an older son that I basically took hostage and was able to experience a lot of great things with him. Doing things out in the community, the football, the baseball, helping him with school and just all that. Just really dove into all that as a dad. I didn't have a dad coming up, so I just wanted to be everything that my dad wasn't, kind of thing. And
Hmm.
and I didn't know what I was doing, but I was getting good at it. And then when the twins were born, I just wanted to do that, all over again. When they passed, somebody came up to me and says, "Hey, you remember Mad Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, right? You remember that, right?" And he's like, "We got to do something about this." And that's when, we came up with JACD, which is an acronym, Just Against Children Drowning. It stands for Josh and Kristen Demello. And basically, that first year, all we did was register it and found that name. So there was about a year and a half there where I was really doing nothing and didn't know what I wanted to do. And I had been sharing with people. I don't know, there's something about sharing. It's just, again, it's a form of therapy. It just helps. I knew that I had to get with. I knew I wanted to get somewhere. I wanted to do something. Just didn't know what it was. So I had to get with people that had been through what I had been through in order to get to where they were at. And I had heard about the National Drowning Prevention Alliance, which I'm a member of and have been for probably what 5 years now.
Hmm.
And I went to that first conference, and the keynote speaker there was sharing about how he has the greatest job in the world. All he does is write checks, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Maybe someday I can do that. What a
So
cool
do you
job.
remember? Do you remember who that was?
I don't, but I
Uh,
remember pulling him aside afterwards, and I was sharing with him. And Eric, I was like, I wanted to do something so bad, didn't know what it was. I wanted to do everything. It was like, and then he just looked at me and he said, "Look, just try to focus on what would have changed your situation, or what you feel would have changed it." And absolutely the fence. And I'm getting chills right now because I feel like it was something tangible, something that would have slowed them down, would have gave the mom enough time to locate them. So, so here we go. We got the foundation created, and now I have this thought about fencing. And I want to say it was the next year when I went there and I met you. So
that's
it
cool.
kind of, yeah, it's really cool. And it's just, I don't know, like sometimes some of the most amazing things happen when you just show up. And a lot of times all I did was just show up, Eric. And then I started meeting people, of course, constantly cultivating relationships and meeting more people. Um, so DCF was another thing that I was dealing with right before the twins passed. So I kind of felt like I needed to help them and work with them. So I was trying to cultivate relationships with Department of Family and Children as well. And so that's how we came up with one of the programs where, if you have a child in a home and there's a pool there, it doesn't matter where the child is or who you're staying with. If there's a child there in a pool and no fence, we will fence it. No charge, free of charge. Uh, and as you know, it's really hard to give away something for free sometimes.
You didn't
You
believe
know,
me when I told you that.
I didn't. I
Yeah.
didn't. Yeah, and then I remember later on, you giving me that title there, Chief Giving Officer, and what an honor that is. And I wish nobody goes through what I went through, and there's a lot of us. It baffles me. It's overwhelming at times when I think about all the new friends I have today, and that bond that we have. That was the other thing that I need to talk about, which happened at the National Drowning Prevention Alliance, is I was able to meet those people that had been through what I was going through and had been through, and we're doing amazing things, and they've helped me so much. Families United to Prevent Drowning is another entity that I'm dealing with, and I don't know. I don't want to tell their story, but I can tell you that I would have never gotten as far as I've gotten without them. Their help and their support and their love.
Well, you can tell the story of the group. So,
Yeah, the group, because there's one individual that always says, there's not one silver bullet to this, and I think you know who he is, and he's an amazing guy, Blake. And this group, it kind of like offers like this multi solution to all these problems, because the drowning prevention arena is a very big arena. Drowning just doesn't happen in backyard swimming pools.
mhm.
Although in my area, it seems like 3/4 of the time it's in a backyard swimming pool, but there's open water. There's children that are 18-year-old. I consider a child. 18 years old is still a child. So it's not just the 4-year-olds that are drowning. The 1 through 4-year-old, and basically it's a bunch of moms, dads, sometimes grandparents that have been in a tragedy and lost their child through a drowning, that have come together, that are trying to give back something to the community as far as solutions in preventing drownings. They say I'm a professional at this. I don't feel like a professional. Again, half the time I'm just out there doing things, and I don't know what I'm doing, and I get nervous when I talk about other people's story. I feel more comfortable talking about mine. Because I don't want to mess anything up. But
Well, that's why I wanted you to tell yours, because I was certain I would screw some part of it up. So no, I get it.
I just tell the truth.
Right.
Right.
This is
Right.
I was saying the other day that I have to tell the truth, because my memory is terrible, and I can't remember what I lied about. So it's a lot easier for me to be honest all the time.
Yeah, and all those families that come together, they're just doing so amazing. They're amazing.
Yeah, the amount of collective good work they're doing together and individually is phenomenal.
Yeah, and I believe it started with like six family members, and
yeah, I think you were one of them.
The sad thing. Yeah, I got there when it was JACD, right before it became Families United.
Yeah, what JACD was, what does it stand for? I can't remember anymore.
Journey, I think it's a journey.
Oh, there it is. Journey, drowning and survivors. Yeah, drowning, journey, and some. Yeah, I forget. I used to know it. It's been a long, long time, but yeah, it was JACD, which started through the NDPA, and then it kind of evolved into Families United, and yeah, the amount of good work they're doing is just incredible. It really is.
It is. And the sad thing is we keep growing and growing and growing.
Yeah.
We talk. I wish there was a way to measure, because we always talk about statistics and data, and
it's hard.
I wish there was a way to measure, all the drownings that didn't occur, through our work, Like, how many times did that child go up to that fence,
right?
And touch that fence? And I wish there was a way to measure that.
I used to say that I was. Michelle just told us, thank you. Journey after a drowning experience support.
Thanks, Michelle. I was hoping somebody would chime.
Yeah, I knew it. I just couldn't. It was on the tip of my tongue. That's Michelle Zieg. I don't know if you know her. She's cool.
Yes. She's come so far. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I tell her that all the time. She's like, "No, stop it." She's come so far. She's done amazing things.
That's fantastic. But yeah, on the statistics, you're right. I wish. I told I'm a good friends with Bob Lyons, who invented the safety turtle.
Yep.
And he has all these awesome stories of parents, hearing the alarm and running outside and pulling their kid out and knowing, that the alarm saved their baby, right? And I always told him I'm jealous that there's no, similar story for a pool fence. No one ever knows if that, what would have happened. So,
and
you just kind of have to guess. I mean, I have to assume, right, that with the number of pool fences that we've put in, that you've put in, locally in Fort Myers and for us, throughout the world, that there's kids that are alive now that would not have been. you know, I mean, I have to think that.
Yeah, and I need to think that too. I need to believe that, my children are some way touching more people now than they would even if they were alive today.
Mhm.
That's how much I miss them. And I don't know, I've been affected big time. And again, I'm just out there trying to do something. Something's better than nothing. And I've been watching you do these podcasts, and you talk about the laws, which I hope you continue to do that. I believe in the safer three. Safer water, safer kids, safer response. And there's so many of us doing great things out there. I continue to learn all the time. I didn't go to school for this. I didn't ask for this. I feel like I was just dealt these cards, and I'm trying to do the very best I can. So I continue to be open minded. Sometimes I step back and I try to retool, but I'll tell you, there's not a day that goes by that I don't pick this up in some way, shape, or form. It could be just a little Facebook post or a phone call to a family that's dealing with a drowning. And, through your program, Save a Life program, and me being the chief giving officer, having that opportunity to give them something for free, on the phone, you know, dealing with the community, doing community events, outreach events. Sometimes there's like 500, 600 kids out there, and being able to talk to those moms and those dads. It needs to be that redundant message all the time. And there's a lot of us doing it, and we're getting better at it. And you're a big help, Eric. I try to thank you all the time. You're doing big things.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. We try, and it's a long, long journey. It seems like.
Did you see where I tagged Judy Fernandez?
No, I didn't.
ISR. I think you saw that
Oh, for
ISR.
as a possible guest.
Yes, yes. I was
Awesome.
hoping she saw that because,
Yeah,
like I said,
I'll
I
find her.
continue to learn. The other thing I saw was the survival, rescue skills. I think it was about 6 months after my kids passed.
Mhm.
Like I said, the fencing. I felt like the fencing for sure. That one tangible um, barrier
Yeah,
layer of prevention that would have helped them. Although, like you said, if you give a child enough time, chances are they will figure out how to get around a barrier. So
of
it's
course.
always about adult active supervision. Somebody needs to be watching those children. But the survival skills and swimming lessons are so important. Like the last layer of prevention type of thing. And Judy, just recently we had a conversation. She was just trying to feel me out, see where I was at with those type of lessons. And I'm absolutely all about swimming lessons too. I believe every child should learn how to swim. It's something that we're talking about right now. Me and Rhonda with our little guy that we have staying with us, Victor. He's 3. We don't have a pool. We chose not to have a pool in our backyard, but who knows? That may change someday. And we do live in the state of Florida. He is
Right.
3, so it's time. It's a big responsibility, but it's also very important. My grandson Liam, he's what, 18 months now. I've been pressing on my oldest son to get him lessons. You know, I'm not in the forefront, so I can't make those executive decisions for him. All I can do is put it out there for him. Because I believe everybody should learn how to swim. Very important. Same thing with CPR. I believe in even bad CPR saves lives. So I am about those things. So, anyways, what I had learned from Judy, right? Because I had saw the infant survival rescue. I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah,
I
it's
had,
it's 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 infant survival rescue, or sometimes infant survival resource, but it's both. So you're good.
oh, yeah, and the first time I saw that, the child was fully clothed in the wintertime, and my boys had drowned in the wintertime. They were fully clothed, and I watched them flip upside down, and they were actually crying, which I felt was kind of like an alarm almost. Um, and I walked away again in tears, and I felt like if my kids knew how to do that, they would be alive today. So I believe in it, but then over the years, you hear all these mixed messages, and everybody's got opinions and stuff like that. So I just kind of chalked it up as, it depends on the instructor, and it depends on the child. If you have an extremely good instructor and a child that's capable of doing those skills, it works. And she brought to my attention, it also depends on the parent. And I was like, well, wait a minute, what do you mean? And she explained to me sometimes sometimes the parent will show up to lessons all bundled up with so much fear, that it's almost not transparent, but it's almost passed on to the child. And then the child begins to act and behave like that, So she opened my eyes to that, constantly learning about this, always.
Right? There's so much to it, right? More than you would expect, I think.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. And I didn't even
so,
know I was going to talk about this morning. I want to give you an opportunity to talk and share about the laws
well,
because
yeah,
you
I wanted
break
to
it
talk about
down.
the law, because I don't get sick of talking about the law because I don't think a lot of people know that the law in Florida last July changed. Um, it got worse again for the fifth time that we've taken a law that was pretty much perfect, not as good as the one in California, but pretty darn good, and we've made it worse again. And this one happened in a very weird way that we're still not sure about, where it slipped in kind of right at the last minute, and um, a lot of people weren't notified. Most people, even in the water safety arena, don't know that the law changed in Florida,
They
which is
don't. They
right. You
don't.
didn't know. I didn't know.
No,
You didn't
and
know.
we go to these meetings. We have a meeting about the meeting, and
Right.
National Drowning Prevention Alliance, Families United. The coalitions, Healthy Kids. I can't tell you how many meetings I attend or used to attend on a regular basis, and nobody really knew.
Right. And if you and I don't know, then who does? Right. I
Right.
mean, I live and breathe this every single day. It's my whole universe. If I don't know, and the same for you, then certainly John Q. Public doesn't know. So essentially what happened is the law used to require a 4-foot barrier that had to meet certain specifications that isolated the pool from the home, and it had to have a self-closing, self-latching gate, and that had to be in place when a new pool was constructed. Old pools were grandfathered in, but if you had a new pool, you had to have a pool fence, and it was a great law. It was really effective. But then there was some lobbying, and they decided that the gate was too expensive. It was too much extra work. So they said, all right, you have to have a pool fence, but not with a self-closing, self-latching gate, just the regular manual opening will get the job done, which, as we all know, everybody recommends having a self-closing, self-latching gate, right? Then the next thing that happened was they said, well, what about these alarms on the doors and windows? And those were allowed in addition to a pool fence. First, they had to be hardwired into the house where they couldn't be shut off or taken down. And then they allowed a battery operated alarm, which what a lot of people did, and this is terrible, is they would put the alarms up, they would pass code, and then they'd take them all down. And that happened for a lot of people. So then you could get the alarms or the fence. So the newest thing is that you can get the cheap door and window alarms that are battery operated, or you can get a pool fence without a gate or with a gate if you want. Or now you can get a floating pool alarm inside the pool, which previously the reason they said that the alarms on the door and window were okay were because it was still about prevention, right? We were still stopping the kid from getting to the water. But these new alarms don't go off until the kid is underwater, until they're drowning, essentially. So which is terrifying. So to think now that our law, you can be in compliance with the law and have something that lets your kids start drowning before you know about it. And those alarms have a host of issues with them. They don't go off right away. If they're on the wrong end of the pool from where the child slips in, especially if the child walks down the stairs, which happens all the time, they don't go off. I have a video of my dealer in Port St. Lucie. His son, he's a man, he's like 30 something. He's got his arm in the pool and he's swishing it back and forth. He's just making waves, and it takes a minute or two before the alarm goes off. And that's way more than a baby would make. It takes a while.
It's the bare minimum. It's the bare minimum.
Yeah.
It's down to the bare minimum. And it's totally against what we've been preaching out there, which is the multiple layers of prevention.
Mm-hmm.
The more layers of prevention we have, the better off we are.
Yeah,
And that includes the swimming lessons, the CPR,
all of it.
the fence, the alarms,
Yeah,
all of it. The water watcher, all of it.
all of it.
It's all of it. And it sounds like they're just going to the bare minimum. Absolutely.
Yeah, and those alarms, they false alarm too. Um, rain, wind, and I know, people are practical. This has to work for somebody's life. And if somebody actually has kids and they have this floating in the pool, the first time that pool alarm goes off on accident from the rain or a raccoon or something, when their 1-year-old is taking a nap, my mom would have chucked that thing in the canal. That would have been the end of that,
I think what the problem is, right, is the people that think it's never going to happen to.
Yeah.
Because chances are, if you were sitting in a room, some of the rooms that I've sat in, people that are discussing, having that conversation, discussing that conversation all the time about drowning, something like that would have never fly, So it's the people that they think it doesn't happen to them. It's going to happen to somebody else. It happens to these far off people somewhere else. They don't want to. They don't want to open their mind or even think of the unimaginable of something like that happen to them. It's too late.
Yeah. So we have to reverse this Florida pool safety law and get it at least back to how it was a year and change ago.
California. Let's just go for it. If we're going to do it right. Right? California already did it.
Yeah. You want to describe the California law? I love the California law.
I don't know if I know it, probably like you would or some others, but I do know it's a double layers. It's a multiple layers of prevention where you got to have one tangible. It could be a cover. The automatic cover that goes over your pool. It could be a net, those nets that they have that go over the pool, or it could be the fence, which I would recommend, the removable pool fence. So it has to be that, something physical. And then they go into, it has to be one of the alarms, which, could be the flotation device, the one that, my less favorite, or, the hardwired alarms, or, the battery operated alarm. So there's two there. And I want to tell you, for the last year and a half or so, I've been thinking about that, and it's perfect because, hope to God I never do, but I have never heard of a drowning where there was both of those in place. I just haven't. To be honest with you, I've heard of them where there was just a fence. Like you always say, you give a child enough time, they will figure it out.
Or if it's left open,
left open.
I think the only times I've ever heard of a drowning with a mesh fence, and never our fence, thankfully, but other mesh fences, is when it's been left open,
Yeah. So it does happen, and then also with the alarms. As a matter of fact, one of the last drownings we had here in the Port Charlotte area was, the grandma opened the sliding glass door. The child made a mess in the kitchen, bypassed the alarm that was on the sliding glass door. And then, she was cleaning up the mess, and the child ended up getting to the pool. So I've heard of them where there was just the alarms, but I ain't never heard of a drowning where there was both in place. I just haven't heard of that yet, So I love that multiple approach. I think that's the way to go. And again, always incorporating the swimming lessons, know your CPR, take that precaution.
Yeah. So I think in California, you have 7 options. And you have to pick 2, like you said, and what's especially good about that is it uses the idea of layers of protection, which we all know is the solution to, water safety. If pool safety does have one silver bullet, right? If there is one solution, it's the idea of layers of protection. It's, the one solution is using lots of solutions, and what's cool about the law in California is it's taken that proven method and put it into legislation, which hasn't happened anywhere. So yeah, the California law is so good, and I hope the rest of the country, other states adopt the California law. Just like they kind of copied the Florida law at first when our law came out in 2001. I hope other states look at the California law and start picking it up, because it's the best. It's so good. If if we could literally copy and paste the California law into our law, I'd be so happy, because they just got it right across the board. It's perfect, and that's in big part to Nadine Rigsby and Marcia Kerr and Marianne Downing and all of the amazing people in California who've been
There's just so many of those
yeah.
people that I don't want to.
Yeah,
I feel like if I start mentioning
those are the ones
names,
I've talked
lose.
to, but
Oh
yeah,
yeah. There's just so many of them. There's so many of them. There's so many good people out there doing so many good things.
yeah, they did great work. But and it's funny, they remind me of the overnight success that took 20 years. Like yeah, they finally got the law and it happened suddenly, but they've been at this for Nadina's been doing it for 30 years. It's longer, I think, actually. So it took them that long to get something that good, but it's worth it. I can't believe what a good, and that'll live hopefully forever. That'll be their legacy going on, and hopefully, like you said, it spreads throughout the country. Hopefully, when this law is seen to be in Florida, is seen to be how bad it is, they'll adopt that the new one in California. That's what I hope.
And I hope we do duplicate that here. And of course that's new construction. The other thing I'm hoping is that we figure out a way, and I think you're onto something with these interviews, is to get in front of those people, the ones that I'm worried about the most. The ones that, because sometimes it's like preaching to the choir.
Right.
A lot of us already know about drowning, but it's the ones that don't know about it, or the ones that won't take the time out to educate themselves, are the ones that I'm worried about. And hopefully we can continue to get in front of them.
So what if you could tell them something, those folks, what would you tell them?
I would say continue to be that helicopter type parent, always, when there's a body of water around, don't take it for granted, and it's not just the backyard swimming pool, it's the lakes, it's the canals, it's, the open water. It could be that pail of water that's sitting in your kitchen, I've heard of incidences where septic tanks left uncovered. I've heard of toilets, where kids get into the toilet bowl. You gotta be aware of your surroundings. Childproof, childproof your home. Think about that water. It doesn't take much time for it to happen. And again, the ones that think it's not going to happen to are the ones I worry about the most. The ones that are putting up all the safety and stuff like that. And although it does happen to those type of parents too, because this isn't something that happens to just, bad parents or something. This happens to really good parents and loving, caring parents. And just don't let your guard down. Always be that helicopter type parent.
I always say that the parents that scare me the most are the ones that say, I'm good, I always watch my kids. Those parents scare the crap out of me, because
that's perfection, and nobody's perfect at watching their kid. An active child, whatever, 1, 2, 3, they're so quick and they're explorers. They love the water. They associate the water with playtime and good times. They're attracted to it.
Yeah. Stephanie Marie says hello to both of us. She also says that the California law needs to be nationwide, not just California,
awesome.
Which I 100% agree with. Michelle says that legislation intimidates her. She goes, but we have a lot of work to do. Our coalition is beginning to address issues and see how we can present at upcoming committee meetings this fall. The barrier laws are a joke where she is in South Carolina, and she agrees with you that it can happen to anyone.
Awesome.
Yeah. And she's right. It can. And the laws, not just in South Carolina, where she's at apparently, but most places are really bad, and I hate that Florida is now one of those places. It sucks.
The sunshine state, there's a dark side to this. There's a dark side, and it's drownings.
Yeah. It's funny to say that there's a dark side to the sunshine state. It sounds like a documentary.
Absolutely.
I might use that somewhere. That's pretty good, actually.
Nobody, and a lot of people don't like to talk about it too. It takes a certain kind of person. That's the other thing I want to talk about. It takes a certain kind of person to go through, a tragedy such as losing a child to a drowning, and then take that and try to create something with it. It takes a certain kind of person to do that. Absolutely.
Stephanie says, I'm just going to quote her. She says, "I said it wouldn't happen to me, and damned if it did. Lost my love, and to this day I regret saying it won't happen. I wish I know now what I knew then," or vice versa. I wish I knew then what I know now. And I mean, I think a lot of people feel that way. I wish I was. I knew now what I knew about giving out pool safety advice that I did 20 years ago. Um, you know, I wonder how more effective I could have been if I was me, back then too. But
a lot of people, they get a backyard swimming pool, they're so excited, it's a good time.
Right.
They just don't have a clue of the dangers of it, and that's something we need to change.
Yeah, they've already put a lot of money into the making it pretty and the cool deck and the whole thing. The idea of one more expense for something they can't imagine happening to them.
Yeah, and a lot of times when it happens, they're having a birthday party, or they're having a celebration, they're having a barbecue, or 4th of July, or it always happens sometimes during those type of events. They're enjoying that backyard swimming pool, and then of course when that tragedy strikes them, that becomes like the worst day of their life, kind of thing.
So let's go through it real quick. You said that you thought for Josh and Kristen, what do you think would have saved them?
Oh, absolutely. I believe a fence. Because the mom knew they were missing. She started searching the home, went into the garage, went to the front yard, and then the pool area was the last area that was checked. And supposedly she jumped in the pool, and she was topping her class in CPR when she took a class for it. She did, but she got jammed up when it came to the twins, and she was in the water. So I believe that fence, it would have slowed them down. They were 13 months old. They weren't really walking. They were premature when they were born. So they were kind of like surfing, they would stand up and surf, and a lot of crawling kind of thing. The fence would have absolutely stopped them, I don't know if they could have, maybe we could have taught them face up first type of skills,
roll over and float.
Yeah, but definitely the fence.
So besides the swim lessons, the fence, what other layers of protection do you recommend?
Well, it was January. It was January, and a lot of times in the wintertime here in Florida, what we like to do is open the sliders because we want the fresh air to blow through. So, if the slider was closed with an alarm, I'm sure that would have helped. But always check the pool first. Child goes missing. Matter of fact, check any body of water first. If there's no pool, check the canal, the pond. Always check, always go there first.
I think it's perfect. Yeah, I think if you get kind of those few key things, the lessons, the fence, locked doors, alarms on the doors and windows, some kind of alarm in the pool,
Eric,
CPR,
all of it.
All of it.
Like
right?
you said, the one silver bullet, the one layer is multiple, right? The more, the better, right? Yeah. And we sometimes get no do-overs, so.
What are you gonna say? Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I was just thinking about the child that knows how to perform and swim and all that. I mean, we still, they're at danger too. There's no child out there drown-proof.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's kind of, that idea that a child thinks they know how to swim. That's why water wings are so dangerous, right? Is the kid takes the water wing off, thinks they can still swim because they were just doing a great job 10 minutes ago, and they jump back in the water and sink, right?
You talk about that, and I think about the ladders. I don't know why some of these things aren't outlawed. The water wings. We know how we all feel about them. The people that we talk to on a regular basis and have conversations on a regular basis about drowning prevention. But what about the rest of the world? How do they feel about it? They probably think it's a good product because it's sold, at a very cheap price. Same thing like the ladder, those A-frame ladders. They're very dangerous. We got tools. We have resources, when it comes to the fencing. We also have tools and resources when it comes to ladders and life vests. So we have options. So why go with the bare minimum?
So talk about that A-frame ladder, if you don't mind.
I'm not a professional on it, but I do know here in my area, I see a lot of these above ground pools with these A-frame ladders. I believe the only thing they're really required to do is take them out when they're not in use. A lot of times that's not happening. We got no fence. I mean, no fence around the pool, no fence around the yard. So they're just a body of water waiting for any child in the community, neighbor or whatever, kids that want to take a dip in the pool. There are ladders out there that you can purchase that, like we have the self-close and self-latching gate, that there are ladders that can self-close and self-latch. For a few bucks more, you can get yourself a better piece of equipment that's a lot safer.
Perfect. So what is JACD up to in the next few months? You guys have a lot going on.
Well, we can breathe a little bit better right now, so
Yeah.
I'm going to try to enjoy that. Events are hard to pull off.
Yeah.
I get a lot of help and a lot of support, and thank God I do, because I don't know what I would do without it.
Did you have the bike event yet?
We did. We did.
Who won that motorcycle?
It was Garrett Briggs from Fort Myers.
I thought I had a good shot.
It's interesting because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, we're going to just donate it back. We're going to donate it back or re-raffle it." And this guy won it. He ain't donating nothing back. He was so excited, and what an opportunity! What an opportunity! To be able to be gifted a gift like that, to gift it to someone else. What an opportunity!
Yeah, how cool is that?
It's way cool. It's way cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the same opportunity you gave me, Eric, when you said, "Hey, you want to, take on this chief giving officer position." As difficult as it is sometimes, I don't know. I feel fortunate that I'm able to do that.
So to explain that a little bit, in case anyone doesn't know.
Yeah, it's a nationwide program.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I believe we do 25 to 50 a year. And it's something that's not easy to give away. A lot of times somebody goes through something like a near drowning or fatal drowning. They just want to move away or fill in the swimming pool and just, crawl into a hole somewhere or something. But anyways, when we finally have a family that we can be open to receiving the gift, the idea is, especially if there's other little children there or you just had a near drowning, is to have that pool fenced off. It doesn't cost anything. It's a nationwide program. So if you've been affected by a fatal or non-fatal, a loved one, been affected by that, Lifesaver Pool Fencing will provide, a fence at no charge. And a lot of times it involves me emailing or texting or having a conversation with the family. And then, of course, we got to locate an install person. And I'll tell you, there's been situations where the install person has to drive 3 to 4 hours. I want to say a couple of times they had to spend the night at the family's home, to get the job done. But we always seem to figure it out and get it done.
Yeah, that just happened in Texas. Wade Cannon drove several hours. I don't know how many. And yeah, he stayed overnight. And I mean, he put in 2 days away from his wife and his kids and his life and his business to go donate this pool fence. So yeah, I mean, so yeah, the work you do with that is phenomenal. I don't know how it would work, without, having you to reach out to the family, because when I did it, it's hard to talk to a family who, just lost a child fatally, non-fatally. And even though I've heard far too many of these stories, when they hear from you, they get not just a fence, but they get support and reassurance and, someone who understands. And I think that has as much value, if not even more, maybe, than the pool fence we give them. So I think, you talking to them is, in my eyes, just as much of a gift from the Save a Life program as the pool fence. And I don't know if I've ever expressed it to you like that before.
Well, but, sometimes nobody else gets a grieving parent better than another grieving parent. And even then, a lot of times, hey, we're talking about my child, not yours, because grief is very personal and everybody grieves differently. But yeah, everybody that I've been able to talk to, it's humbling, actually. Because I don't know, maybe I'm picking a scab sometimes, but it hurts. Like I relive it with them almost, you know. But then it's like healing. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just, it's working. So I'm going to keep doing it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Introducing them to you, I think, is the other half of the Save a Life program. You know, it's the part we don't advertise. That not only do we give away a pool fence, but we introduce you to Paul, you know, who can, you know, help you along the way, which I think is
Yeah. And
invaluable. You know?
it's definitely been, and again, I'm thankful because it's definitely been a form of therapy for me. You know, there's something to be said about helping others, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, one of the reasons why we do it, you know, it started with non-fatal drowning survivors, and then we did fatal, was because of how we got into doing pool fencing. You know, my dad would take me to, both my parents would take me to doctor's appointments and physical therapy when I was real young, you know, 1, 2 years old, because I was born with cerebral palsy, and the symptoms are very similar to a drowning survivor, right? It's still, it's brain damage that's caused by lack of oxygen, right? So very, very similar. And there was lots of other kids that had a similar thing going on, and they were all drowning victims. You know, he kind of said, you know, why are there so many of these patients in all these hospital rooms and the doctor's rooms? There's got to be some kind of solution. And that's when he started, you know, making pool fence in his garage, you know, back in 1989. And my mom would stay up all night and sew the mesh, and you know, he would make it during the day, and she would run the office. And between the two of them, they pulled it off. And you know, he had a paper route that he used to get up for at 3 a.m. And whatever money he made from the paper route was his marketing budget, and that's what he put into advertising. And that was the beginning. So yeah, so because, you know, these drowning survivors were kind of the reason why we got started. You know, it made sense to me that I wanted to, you know, give back to them in some way. And you know, I never want to sell a fence to somebody who has had a drowning tragedy either. So you know, I'm glad that we can donate pool fences to anybody for that matter, but especially someone who's been affected, you know, who has a story like yours, or like, you know, like so many other people have, you know.
And thank you for everything you do, Eric.
Yeah, thanks. It's just good we can do it.
You know, I was gonna. You do a lot. You ask the questions a lot, and I wanted to ask you one question. You kind of talked about it a little bit because I had someone ask me, "Hey, did Eric drown? Like he's in a wheelchair. Did he go through that?" And I remember you telling me that you know what had happened to you in that story, and you already went into it. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, you know, and
I'm glad I got an opportunity to meet your dad. You know, and sorry for your loss with that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is similar to, you know, I didn't actually drown, but you know, the symptoms are the same, right? The result is the same. So I feel like I have a little bit of a firsthand look into, you know, kind of the experience. So I'm glad that, you know, hopefully we can put up enough fences where other people don't have to, which is a nice thing, you know, both the ones we give away and the ones that get put in by dealers and whatnot throughout the country. So that's
what's Lifesaver? I want to interview you now. What's Lifesaver pool fencing up to? What are you guys up to?
Well, besides this right now, I mean,
I know this is taking off.
It's a minute. This is what we're doing right now. No, but Lifesaver is doing good. You know, we you know, we're putting in new dealers, you know, all the time throughout the country. You know, we've got some open areas that we're trying to fill.
Hopefully, it won't be no 3-hour, 4-hour drives anymore.
Right? Yeah, that'd be nice. You know, you know, we're just trying to do a lot more educational stuff. You know, I want to do, you know, as much as we're doing on Facebook and Instagram, I think we're just scratching the surface, and I really want to go in all the way with it. So, you know, that's a big part of what we're doing now. You know, it's the middle of well, it's June 1st, you know, so we had National Water Safety Month last month, and we tried to push it as hard as we can. You know, we're trying to improve the fencing all the time. You know, we don't like just existing. You know, a lot of people still make the same fence that they made 30 years ago because, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, which, you know, that makes sense to me as well. But, you know, I like change. I like things, you know, getting better. So, you know, every year we try to do something a little bit different to make the fence a little bit better. So yeah, just a lot more education. That's what I'm about right now. Is, you
and
know,
you're the CEO, right? You're the big boss now.
That's the one. Yeah.
All right.
Well, I have been for my
big
dad.
Boss, hey, big boss with a big heart.
Oh, thank you. My dad retired the first time when I was 21, 22, and I took it over then. So I've been running it for, how old am I now? 36. So 14 years I've been kind of running the show, frighteningly enough, as terrifying as that is.
Hey, you know what I just realized?
What's that?
It's more fun interviewing you than interviewing me.
You know what that means is you should start a podcast.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, bring them on. You're giving me more work. That's what you're giving.
Yeah. you should be doing this.
Yeah. You know, Eric, no matter how much I do, I always feel like it's never enough, Eric.
Right.
It's crazy. It's just crazy like that. It's going to take all of us doing this, But again, the one audience that I really want to reach are the ones that think it's never going to happen to,
Right.
They just think those are the ones I want to reach, really. And I hope we've been able to touch at least a few of those with this here.
Yeah. Stephanie writes that she wants her husband to be a dealer, but financially they don't have the funds for it, and there's not even
a fundraiser. Let's do a fundraiser. Let's
right?
Get
Why
not?
And it's not that expensive. But she says there's not a dealer in Jersey, and that's not true. Actually, we have 3 dealers in New Jersey. We have a northern, a southern, and a central Jersey dealer. One is in Philadelphia, and he travels over. But yeah, we definitely have dealers in Jersey for sure. And Michelle, you're right. I think we do need one closer to Charleston. Absolutely.
Be careful 100%. What you ask for, Michelle.
Yeah, I will, because I will make it happen.
We'll have her out there.
Yeah. I'm into cool. It. We have a bunch of female distributors. They do great. Marty out in Oklahoma is killing it. So
hey, Eric, I was thinking, you think you could come up with a drill that drills the holes out automatically, like press a button, just go, come back.
Right. Come back 6 hours later.
You can do it. I think you can do it.
Somebody's it's got wheels,
something.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
That's a good idea.
Speed up production. It is a good idea.
Yeah.
I usually come up with good ideas. I just don't pursue them. I don't know what my problem is, but somebody like you could do it. Put it together.
Figure it out. Gotcha. Well, is there anything you want to leave people with before we wrap this up?
No. If anything, just share it. Drowning prevention needs to be a message, a redundant message. It needs to be shared over and over, and let's not stop having this conversation.
Gotcha. And where can people find JACD if they want to learn more about you or give you money or whatever?
It's a long one. JustAgainstChildrenDrowning.org. It should pop right up, our website, and everything you need is right there to contact us.
Perfect.
Thanks, Eric.
Right. Thank you so much, Paul. You're awesome. I appreciate it. And the work you do is amazing. It really is.
Yeah. Right back at you, Eric. Thank you for everything.
Thanks, man. All right. You guys take care and have a good day, everyone.
You too. Bye.